"Are you ready, Reyna?" Zahi asked as I finished putting my massive black boots on. We took off into the meeting room as everyone stood up or sat down peering at our boss. "Mr. Crisanti?" He narrowed his eyes as we came to sit down on the remaining chairs. The meeting was about the safety procedures of a fire and the basic equipment we needed, even though all of us knew it all. He had to remind us. Mr. Crisanti finished with a long pause, then a cold glare at everyone individually. Then we were excused to leave. Zahi quickly paced after me, wrapping his massive arms around my shoulders as I chuckled at his jokes. "So how you finding it so far?" he asked, as I sighed at the timetable stuck on the wall. "Well, apart from Mr. Crisanti, I think I'll manage," I blurted out as Zahi laughed, removing his red curly hair from his eye. We talked for a while until we had to go our separate ways in work. Everyone groaned at the change paper. This tells us what has changed, and if it can affect us throughout the day. Of course, they changed the alarm system. It was 10 times louder than before as it blared our ears the first time they tested it. After a few hours of practicing and making sure our equipment was ready, I headed to the lounge room for my lunch break meeting, Zahi on the way. He was a very close friend of mine. As kids, we dreamed of this job, and now we are here. Zahi has always been by my side. Even when the worst thing happened, he was there. His red curly hair danced on end, his brown skin tone matching mine, and his light hazel eyes shining in the sun. We sat together, talked about what we should do after this shift, and where we should go after this shift, and where we should go after that. "Hummy, I was thinking of taking trip to the park, for fresh air." He smirked at me as I giggled at his funny face. He pulled. Then we both looked up to see Mr. Crisanti. He was a cold man, never seen him smile or laugh at anything. He stood there solemnly, his massive bulging muscles and beautiful blue eyes, but a vigilant tone towards his job. I mean, all of us had to be like that, but he never takes a break. That's what Zahi told me. "Reyna, how is it so far?" Mr. Crisanti questioned whilst remaining the same crossed-armed position, but staring at me deeply. "It's great. I've met a lot of cool people, and they are very helpful." I replied back smiling, but he didn't. Instead, he turned to Zahi, who sat up straight. I paused. The muffled sound of Mr. Crisanti speaking wasn't important. "What was that?" I felt my heart beat faster inside of me, which then jolted my body with the same pace. Everyone stood there. I thought it was me who was going crazy. That's when we heard the first one. The chilling scream engulfed the station. It wasn't just regular shriek. It was far more blood-curdling as the voice cracked in half. It was as if the victim was being crushed brutally. Reyna and Zahi were catatonic. It was as if they were holding their breath when they first heard the screech. No one moved. It was like everyone was preserved in time. Just then, a few seconds passed by as the sound of an alarm consumed everyone in trepidation. People were dumbfounded. No one knew exactly what was going on until they realized it was the sound of a fire. Phones were synchronized as they rang in different tones and beats. Everyone darted in many directions. Finally, Reyna motioned her close friend to run and scrambled to the nearest truck and fell in. I felt the hot sweat disappear as the piercing coldness draped around my body. The fear was still there. I was still shocked. I mean, what just happened? The scream still echoed in my mind. It was a woman's scream. At first, I couldn't make out if it was a male or female. but after replaying it in my head, I soon realized what it sounded like. Me. The truck bounced and trembled due to the ground being rocky. I looked at Zahi, who had his hands on his lap, breathing anxiously. It was my first time handling a fire. I expected a fire to break out in a week or so, but just under 4 hours there's already one. For me it's weird. I felt wrong. It's like I've already been here before. I glanced out the window as the truck bleated a monotonous alarm. I saw massive orange trees and houses, each of them perched up neatly. Their wooden frames and golden banisters stared back at me. The truck suddenly halted as my body leaned forward. We were here. I rushed out the door, so did Zahi. A crowd of people were watching and screaming at the house, who had red flames eating away at the wood. Our team, I had to say, was very good. We had Raymond and Nevea putting out the fire, Eunice and Leah clearing the audience and helping at the same time, and me and Zahi rescuing people and treating them medically. The rest of our crew were scattered everywhere. I stumbled towards the house that was in flames. It looked old from the rest of the houses. The gold banisters and the color of the house faded, which was supposed to be a bright blue, was now a dark shade of it. Me and Zahi darted towards the house as our workers tugged at the hose. Soon enough, the entrance was clear, and we went in. Sparks from the lights buzzed above us as we walked in slowly. Zahi handed me a gas mask as we both plopped it on. There was only one working light, and it came from upstairs. Someone is here. Hello! If someone is here, can you come down to us so we can check up on you and make sure you're okay? Zahi bellowed, cupping his hands around his mouth and standing at the bottom of the staircase. No answer. He beckoned me to follow him. We climbed the wooden staircase, which groaned and squeaked every step we took. The smell of acrid filled the mask as I tightened the grip on it. Is anyone here? I blurted, as my hands were shaking tremendously from the fear that deepened inside of me. It was so quiet that I couldn't even hear the flames or the shouts outside. Zahi was in front of me. His red curly hair bounced with every step he took. I reached for the flashlight that was tucked away in my pocket. It was getting dark. I shone the flashlight at the frames on the wall, which displayed countless pictures of a family. All of them resembled one another. A man stood there holding his wife. They glared back at me with a cold glance, the one that Mr. Cranty gives everyone. There was no emotion in any of the pictures. They had thick black hair and pale skin, eyes looking into or above the camera. It drooped as if there was no muscle to hold it up. Each picture displayed the large man and his wife getting married. Then she is now pregnant, and the last picture showed something. Weird? I felt sick. I couldn't look away from the picture. Zahi noticed that I wasn't behind him anymore. He rushed down the steps, his footsteps banging like my heart in my chest, wanting to get out. Wanting to get out. Someone was screaming my name. I wanted to say yes or what, but I was too busy saying the same sentence. Wanting to get out. Wanting to get out. Get out. Get out. 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 That's when we heard it. The same chilling scream. This time, me and Zahi can locate where it was coming from. Upstairs. Stairs. It didn't sound like me. In fact, it sounded like a group of people, and I know who those people are. Zahi grabbed my hand, making me move, and I instantly snapped out of it. Whatever that was, I didn't like it one bit, but that was irrelevant, right? We reached the top of the spiral staircase. and looked around for any sign of someone in extreme amount of pain. That was how the scream sounded like. There was many rooms, even though it was a small family. The doors were slightly open. Me and Zahi were hesitant. Something is inside that room. The faint orange glow came from underneath the door. It was bright before, but now it was fading. We acted on instinct and burst the wooden door down. The room wasn't on fire. "Hello! Is anyone here?" Zahi screamed as I came next to him. "Something was off!" The room was massive. I assumed it was bigger than the rest. There was fairy stickers, crayons on the side, pink and blue wallpaper wrapped around the room. The house was dull, but this room is the only one with color. Squeak. Groan. Groan. Squeak. We paused. I noticed we were holding our breaths and digging our hands in one another. Zahi slowly backed away from out of the room as I stood there. "Zahi, where are you going? Come on," I whispered, grabbing his arm and pulling him forward. Squeak. Groan. Groan. Squeak. "Hey, it's okay to be scared. Just come on out," I said, edging closer into the room. I noticed there were stuffed animals, but they were ripped in half. The teddies had the faces taken apart, and someone had structured a new one with cotton threads, the ones you sew your socks or anything if they have a hole in it. Squeak. Groan. Groan. Squeak. The noise echoed all around the room. Me and Zahi moved about, trying to locate where this noise was actually coming from. Squeak. Groan. Groan. Squeak. It got louder. Squeak. Groan. Groan. Squeak. The bed. The bed. The pink fluffy covers were all scruffed up as well as the pillows. The sound progressively got louder as it came from. Bang. 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 Underneath. Bang. 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 The bed. Bang. 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 I couldn't take it anymore. I rushed towards the bed, adrenaline pumping through my body as I crouched down and looked around under the bed to see anything. What? There's nothing. I got up carefully and... the girl in the picture. She stood there, her hands wrapped around Zahi's throat, her long, straight black hair, pale skin, and hair face. She had eyes, but her mouth looked like someone had sewn it into a gruesome smile. I felt like I've seen her before. Me and Zahi have seen her before. She was a child, but for some reason she had a long, bony arm that was different from any child's arm I've seen before. That's when we heard the first one, the chilling scream. That's when we heard this one, the chilling scream, the one that reminded us where we were. The girl let go of Zahi as he fell to the floor, gasping for air. Red lines appeared on his throat as I gasped and looked back at the girl who bent her neck sideways. I felt something in my hand. Glaring down, I noticed a scrunched-up paper. As I was opening it, Zahi backed away from this thing. It was standing there waiting for me to read this paper. Mir Reese, 8 years old, born on 12 March 1968, went missing in 1976, caused the forest. Wait. The forest. I looked up quickly to find the girl in her bed. It looked more neater than before, as well as the toys. Everything was where they should be. Then suddenly the glass broke from her window and she was gone. Squeak. Groan. Groan. Squeak. Bang. 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 She was gone. The girl was gone. Me and Zahi were left speechless. unable to move. A crash came from downstairs, but we didn't dare to get up. Soon enough, we found ourselves outside. Police cars and ambulances stirred around us. I stared at the family, hoping to see the little girl, but there was no sign of her. The parents were old, gray hairs and wrinkles on every part of their body. The one thing that freaked me out was that they were holding what looked like the same stuffed animal with the stitches across its mouth. We asked them questions about their daughter. What happened to her? I asked the strange man as I put plaster on the wife's hand. Happened to who? What happened to me, Reese? Oh, that was tragic. She was apparently hunted down by something. Everyone was superstitious about it. The man let out a deep laugh, a kind of sinister one. A chill ran down my spine as I sat up to look at him. Hunted by what? Oh, we don't want to get onto that. She came to my house. I didn't want her there. She's your daughter. What are you talking about? I demanded. Nee Reese is not my daughter. She banged on my door asking for help. What would I do? She looked a state. Then a handsome chap came to the door, apologizing about his daughter. Then they went their separate ways. Then I found out she went missing. Didn't she have blood on H? Did you even bother to look for Emmy Reese? No one looks for me Reese. That's 40's Hendry golden rule. Don't look for missing people. What? They wanted the kids of 40 Hendry, so I got some, including me and the older ones. Like you? Every day, I find myself trapped in a relentless job, questioning my abilities beyond this mundane routine. Then came the day when they handed me the latest absurd creation from our company, a magical belt that claimed to transform the obese into the svelte. I knew these gimmicks hardly lasted a week, but I had to hawk them anyway. My sales territory, the outskirts of the city, with a map so vague it might as well have been written in invisible ink. After a journey through a landscape that could double for a horror movie set, I finally arrived at my destination. It was a place that sent shivers down my spine. My first target stood before me, a portly grandpa struggling to fit through his front door. I could practically see the dollar signs in his eyes, and I was determined to make this sale. After a relentless barrage of persuasive talk, I managed to pawn off one of those useless belts to the unsuspecting grandpa. He disappeared into his home, leaving me with nothing but a reflection of myself in his mirror, a reflection of doubt. But I couldn't dwell on that. I had 10 more belts to sell, and I needed to find 10 more unsuspecting victims. I muttered to myself, just 10 more idiots. As I continued my trek, I stumbled upon a peculiar house. My instincts told me to turn away, but then an impossibly thin old lady caught my eye. She fixed her gaze on me and, without a second thought, beckoned me over. "Are you selling something?" she asked, her handshake mirroring that of the grandpa's, as if they were part of some secret club. Without demanding a demonstration, she purchased the product. 2 sales in the bag. I was elated. I soon found another target and, in a whirlwind of persuasion, sold the belt. This rhythm continued until I had no more belts left. It was a small victory, but I reveled in it. Selling all the belts in one day felt like a miracle. I turned to leave, but discovered the street I entered from was closed off. Panic began to creep in as I retraced my steps through the neighborhood. That's when I noticed them. People dressed exactly like me, scattered all around. It was a bizarre and unsettling sight. My heart raced as I passed my previous customers. But as I turned a corner, I saw the strangest thing. A clone of myself, tending to a garden. Fear gnawed at me, and I sprinted in the opposite direction. Yet, at every turn, another me appeared. One reading a book, another sipping tea, and yet another sitting in a chair. They encircled me, laughter echoing in a chorus that sent chills down my spine. Slowly, they merged into a grotesque, towering version of myself, closing in. As they consumed me, my vision blurred. Through a haze, I saw a signboard that read, "Doppelganger's Cult."